has no taste. It was only later we realized it was the taste of radioactive iodine.
While children are still out playing in the squares, Colonel Grebenyuk's men spend the day taking the first readings of radioactivity in the city. In those days, radioactivity was measured in units called rongens. Normal atmospheric level is about 12 millionths of a rongen. In Pripyat, by early afternoon, readings are already over 200 thousandths of a rongen. In other words, 15,000 times higher than usual. By the evening, the level has shot up to 600,000 times above normal.
Boulevard Lenin, 200. Boulevard Ukraina, 250 millirongens. And that night, 7 rongens. My subordinates were starting to wonder if the machines were working properly, or was someone lying to us. We did not know that the reactor was still burning and radiation was still spreading. This map is sealed in plastic because it's still radioactive.
It's thought that a human being can absorb up to 2 rongens per year without being affected. But the body is lethally contaminated if it receives over 400 rongens. During that first day, the inhabitants absorb over 50 times what is considered to be a harmless dose. Such a pace, they would have received a lethal dose in 4 days. To understand what is going on, the colonel sends a patrol to take the first readings at the base of the plant.
Their first readings were recorded on this map, 2,080 rongens. I was worried about my subordinates. How could I send them in there?
At these astronomical levels, 15 minutes is all it takes for a human being to absorb a lethal dose of radiation. At the Nuclear Institute, the figures provoke a shock. Such a level of radioactivity has never been seen before. Gorbachev hurriedly creates a governmental commission made up of the country's top experts in nuclear energy. This is led by the academician Legasov, a nuclear physicist of international renown. He immediately leaves for Chernobyl at the head of a scientific delegation.
We hoped they would be able to evaluate the situation quickly, but for the first couple of days, they weren't able to tell us anything. It was a dramatic situation. We'd be in session, waiting for information. We were demanding information, but they weren't able to tell us anything.
20 hours after the explosion, the level of radioactivity continues to climb. By now, windows and doors should be sealed and iodine tablets swallowed to counteract the effects of radioactivity. Yet no such orders have been given. Despite rising tensions in the city, the population has still not been informed of the situation. Yulia Marchenko was only 5 at the time. She lived in Pripyat with her family. Her father worked at the plant.
My parents took me to the daycare center, like usual. Everything was absolutely normal. My father already knew there'd been an accident, but no precautions had been taken yet.
30 hours after the explosion, the first security measures are enforced. More than 1,000 buses have arrived. At 2 p.m., the army announces the city is to be completely evacuated.
Я помню, что в садике нам давали таблетки. Это йодинистый калий.
I remember the teachers at the kindergarten gave us iodine pills.
Я помню, что
Then parents came to pick up their kids. Everyone was running around, but they weren't panicking.
Такая суета. Не было вот общей какой-то такой вот паники.
We thought we were only going to be gone for 3 days.
To avoid any panic, the authorities conceal the seriousness of the situation. Inhabitants are given 2 hours to gather their belongings and assemble in front of their buildings.
И сказали, что, ну, вот вывезут на автобусах.
They told us to get in the buses.
Я помню, что
I
я ещё
remember
бегала по
perfectly well,
комнатам
having
и
to choose
говорила,
which toys I was going to
какую
take.
мне взять. Это я
I
очень
had a lot
хорошо
of dolls
помню, потому
and
что
wanted
мне
to bring
хотелось,
them
у меня
all,
было очень много
but I
игрушек, мне
couldn't.
хотелось забрать всё, но я не могла. И
We
вот
couldn't even
собрать
take
мы даже
any
не
warm
взяли с собой
clothes.
тёплых вещей.
People have to leave everything they own, their entire lives behind. They will never return.
Был дедушка вот один.
One old man didn't want to go.
Он
He
остался,
stayed
и он так
behind.
и умер там.
They
Его
found his
нашли только
body a
через
few weeks
неделю
later.
в квартире закрытой.
People didn't really believe what was happening. They thought they were being lied to. They remembered the German occupation and said that in 1941 there were bombs that fell. But now there was nothing. The elderly people didn't believe in an invisible enemy. And there was no time to explain. My soldiers and I were simply carrying out orders.
In 3.5 hours, 43,000 people are evacuated tearfully but peacefully. Buses carry Europe's first atomic refugees. They have been exposed to doses of radiation that may alter the composition of their blood and engender fatal cancers.
Ну, как я нахожу, что, по-моему, скоро его отмоют. Скоро люди здесь будут жить. Ну, еще что вам сказать? Город должен жить. Красивый город. Вот я сейчас смотрю напротив стадиона. Здесь должны дети играть. Ну, без риска везде, по-моему, нигде нельзя.
48 hours after the disaster, the only people left in the ghost town are the military personnel and members of the scientific delegation, headquartered at the Pripyat Hotel. As if unaware of the danger, they eat, sleep, and work right on the premises.
These were upstanding people, specialists. I couldn't believe they would do something irresponsible or suicidal. No, it meant they'd underestimated the situation. The old criteria were no good anymore. There have been nuclear accidents before, in our country as well as in the US, but that information had been kept secret. There'd never been an accident of this scope. They even thought the reactor would be back in service by May or June.
Meanwhile, clouds filled with radioactive particles are being blown north by the wind. Between the 26th and the 27th of April, they drift over 1,000 kilometers above Russia, then over Belarus and the Baltics. On the 28th, they hit Sweden, where the rise of radioactivity is detected near one of their nuclear power plants. Soon after, television news alerts the population. Radioactive dust from Chernobyl rains down on Stockholm. The authorities send a squadron of fighter planes to take readings in the clouds. The level of radioactivity suggests there's been a major accident somewhere.